Begin transmission. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Outer Rim transmission number 19. I'm joined by the full crew this week. Milton was off on some birthday adventures, we'll call them. So there you go. We both had birthdays last week, so everybody's back to full force this week. This week's episode, you can look forward to news about a new Star Wars animated special presentation from LEGO. We're also going to talk a lot more about the Galactic Starcruiser Hotel at Disney World. And plus, we got a lot going on with the Bad Batch officially getting that green light on season 2. So I'm going to just throw it over to Milton, man. How's things going? How was the birthday? How you doing in general, dude?
I'm good, man. Thanks for having me, like always. The birthday went well. Always a good time to celebrate with friends and family during that time. I know we have a lot to talk about, and I know we're going to talk about the Star Wars experience. I have some thoughts on that, especially that price, because missed me on what they expect us to pay, but I'm sure people will pay it. So, yeah, other than that, looking forward to getting to the show tonight.
Heck yeah, heck yeah. So as always, we're going to open it up with our week in Star Wars. I'm going to throw it over to Ben this time around.
All right. Well, I didn't have anything too extravagant. No awesome collector's items or any really interesting out of the ordinary experiences. But one thing that I was going to bring up, in the vein of like Bad Batch and all these animated shows. So earlier in the week, I was just getting ready for bed and had a few Rebels episodes on, and I never realized actually. So I believe it was the first or second episode of the show where Vader fights Kanan and Ezra for the first time, and I never noticed in that episode like how brutal it actually was for being an animated show, though, because during their fight, like, of course, I just love like seeing Vader like whip on him and everything, but one part that like really stood out to me that I guess I just I never registered to me during the fight before was during the fight when Vader's pushing Ezra's lightsaber back, he's pushing it back like right toward his throat.
Oh yeah.
And it's like this is an animated show and everything, and they actually went there. Like, that like for that being that brutal, I was like, dang, like that is crazy. Like for all my critiques of like animation in Star Wars sometimes being, well, especially like so far this year in Bad Batch, like all of the stun gun things we've been seeing, like for my critiques of the animation for this show, then seeing it in Rebels, like Vader in the opening episode was gonna push Ezra's lightsaber back into his throat, like to decapitate him. It's like, holy crap. Like I never realized, like, I don't know, like I said, it just never registered to me when I was watching it, whenever I was before. And I was just watching, I was like, dang, that's pretty brutal for a animated show.
Yeah, it's always fun looking back at these shows, especially from the perspective of us now officially like reviewing these things and more or less critiquing them more than we would have like 5-6 years ago. And we're talking about an animated series on a weekly basis, and now comparing it to another animated series. It is fun, especially to see how that was actually on like a cable TV show.
Disney XD.
Yes. So that was what's really interesting there about seeing all that kind of violence and stuff on there. Real quick, we got a live viewer, Isabella Husted, is in the channel. Welcome. Based on Rebels, I still see people wanting a Rebels sequel, although I think we're going to basically get that with the Ahsoka series.
Yep. Oh, 100%. The Ahsoka series, in my opinion, the Ahsoka series is whatever Rebels series we would have gotten. It's just adapted into live action, and that's what I really think it's going to be.
So I took a trip to Target over the weekend. Of course, walked down the aisle. I think all they had was the Kuel Mandalorian figures, which are cool, don't get me wrong. But again, like I'm looking at like empty pegs everywhere. But something I did pick up is, in fact, Grogu.
Oh, nice! Finally, you joined the Grogu club.
I finally joined the group here. I have a plan for this thing, and it might involve a costume. So, stay tuned. Stay tuned for that. Sometime in October, you guys might see some photos or something coming out. if all things go as
Nice.
planned. So that was fun. That's the first Grogu that I kind of
Good.
officially have in like a life size form at least. So there you go. And I'll throw it over to Milton, man. So you got anything in the last 2 weeks that I know we've talked a lot, me and Ben, about the
Right.
audio radio plays that you listen to. I know he was talking all about that last week. Have you listened
Yeah,
to
I was
anything or any?
able. Yeah, I'll comment on that a little bit. I actually did catch a little bit of the podcast at that point. 'Cause I went back to listen to it, and yeah, I appreciate the shout out, Ben, because I'm telling you, those radio dramas add a lot, especially to the New Hope movie. Like it adds a lot to that film. And I mean, again, they're very much re-listenable. You know, like because you always feel like you're gonna miss something or you may catch something new. So again, I'm glad that you guys are listening to it, especially you, Ben. So
Yep.
I appreciate all the positive feedback you're giving that. Even and what's funny is like you mentioned, like you might have said, these were produced what 1981 and what
81.
84
Yep.
or what it was, and like the one I think Return of the Jedi was 96.
Yep.
So like it was just it's nice that we got to revisit those and expand upon the films, even though they're non-canon. It feels like it's canon, like
Oh
especially how
yeah.
they tell the story.
Oh yeah. Well,
So
Milton, like I mentioned on the show last week, they pulled that Lord Tyon guy. He's in canon. And they pulled that Cammy girl. She's into canon.
Yep.
right,
And those audiobooks, it's so crazy, or the radio drama, it's so crazy. Like I said last week, now I'm like halfway through it, but last week I was only 40 minutes in, and we still were not even to the opening of
yep,
A New Hope yet. And I was like,
yeah.
holy crap,
What?
this
A
is
lot of
wild.
backstory.
Like,
A lot
yeah,
of backstory
I
they fill
loved
you in,
it.
which I love it. I loved it because even like how you got to the part. I mean, I guess you should have got to this whenever that Tyon's at the dinner with them.
Yep.
Yeah, like like that whole scene's like tight.
Yeah,
Like how he's just
that was
like
crazy.
they're playing a game the whole time. I mean, and it's like all right, it is like why wish you would have kind of got this in the movie if it was legit at the time. I'm just
Yeah.
like I've been such a nice scene to do, but like so this week in Star Wars for me. This is a positive, but also a negative.
Oh.
So just the other day, I was at the gym and I went to rewatch that Darth Maul fan film.
Oh
It just
yeah.
popped up on my YouTube like recommendations or whatever, and I'm watching that and I'm thinking, my God, how good was that fan film? Because it's like these creators out here that aren't Lucasfilm, executives or workers, whatever. They're just average nobodies like us who go out there and do these passion projects with little to no money, and they just use their imagination and their whatever resources they have, and they create something like that. And it's like, my God, how amazing is that? But then I look at it, it's like we got The Last Jedi. Like you're. I mean, and again, that's so bad, but it's like my point is, you got these average nobodies making beautiful pieces of art. Even that Darth Vader short film that was done by that one group of people, and in Star Wars Theory, he did his short film. It's like, man, could you imagine the creativity we're getting from these people? But if Lucasfilm will even like have 1% of that passion and creativity and put it in our mainstream films, my God, dude, I tell you what, the sequel trilogy would have been so much more received, in my opinion. And again, that's a negative, but I say that because I want to praise these independent
Mm-hmm.
creators who's out there busting their tails and just giving us content and aren't getting paid for it. And it's like they're just doing this because they love the property. And it's like, hats off to you guys, because every time I see a short film or something, I'm watching it. Like it's so good.
Which one is
Milton,
it?
Just to throw out there with your fan film talk, about 2 weeks ago, Chris, I forgot to even send it in our group chat. There's this really good girl, a really good Ahsoka cosplayer, and she made her own little fan film. It's only like 5 minutes, and it's so good. But I'll be sure to send it to you guys because it literally just came out like 2 weeks ago.
Oh, okay. I do see a really good cosplayer on Twitter, so maybe it's the same person. But Milton, was this the one that was made by IGN on April Fool's Day with the Quinlan Voss in the Darth Maul trailer?
No. I'm talking about this came out like 3 years ago.
Yeah.
Here I'll look it up right now because
I think
it's
it's a
like
Shadow Hunter, isn't it?
I think Darth Maul fan film. Like
'Cause I
I forget
remember.
who it is, but it's really really good. It's by that T7 Pros team. They have a YouTube channel. It's called Darth Maul Apprentice, a Star Wars fan film. It has like 29 million views.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I know what's funny is I remember when I was doing YouTube back in the day when I first met you, Chris. I actually reviewed this film, because like I really loved. It's only like 20 minutes, and
Huh.
it tells such a good. It's pretty much the story is for this one. It's a prequel to New Hope, or not New Hope, to
Phantom
Phantom
Menace.
Menace. Like it leads up to pretty much those events in a weird way. But Darth Maul's got to deal with a group of Jedi, and they don't know who this guy is because they've never seen Darth Maul before.
Uh-huh.
So they're trying to get away, but he's like, "Well, I gotta hack them up so you don't tell the Empire or tell
Yeah.
the Republic
Yep.
and the Jedi who I am." So it's just dope. It's really good.
Yeah, it's really good. And we talked about the story last week, Milton, about Shamuk and how he's like one of us, I guess you could call him,
Mhm.
where he's like just the guy, average guy, just out there in his his computer room, just putting together deep fakes, and next thing you know, Disney's hiring him. Um,
Yeah,
so it's good that Disney seems like they're starting to, or Lucasfilm, whatever, is starting to go out there and hire these people.
right,
Looking at a different medium, like you look at the indie game video game scene, and you a lot of times these indie games are ones that start new trends in video games. Because
right,
they have the unlimited freedom. They don't have because they're independent. They don't have to abide by certain restrictions or certain timetables, and they can just
right.
hone their craft until it's ready to go, and they put it out there. So I think probably the same could be said for any industry. Like you get those independent people that are very passionate, very good, and they don't have to worry about appeasing to stakeholders or shareholders and whatnot. And then they could get picked up by Lucasfilm and give them ideas that they never thought about because they think
Mhm.
differently than the corporate gig or whatever you want to call it.
Right. No, you're right. And honestly, let's be real here. Like, there's certain fans you probably wouldn't bring on to do a project because they're
Yep.
probably over the top with it and they probably
Yep.
can't be objective and reasonable and stay within the lines of what Lucasfilm Disney wants for Star Wars. I understand that, because again, it's like you wouldn't like, I mean, I'm sure Ben would know this. You won't hire a normal fan to run your NFL franchise.
Yep.
Facts. Like you're not gonna let us run that because we'll do stupid stuff with the money
We'll play
and
Madden.
yeah. We'll try to make it a video game, and that's just not realistic. So like in this case, if you're gonna hire whether it's a fan or someone off of YouTube, first of all, make sure he or she is qualified for what they want to do in that particular organization. Make sure that he or she can tell a good narrative of a story, and again, somewhat they're professional in what they do. Because they're going to have to be objective. They're going to have to toe the company line at times. So again, if Lucasfilm's going to go that route and try to reach out to more independent filmmakers who are fans, great. Make sure they vet them. They know how to apply their work, because I do want to see chances in Star Wars. And people may say, well, The Last Jedi took a chance. Honestly, what chance did they really take? It just kind of butchered Star Wars at that point for people. So again, that's just my thoughts on that. But again, I just want to praise fans and creators out there who are independent filmmakers who just want to make these movies and these properties for fun, and I can't get enough of them. So big
Well,
shout
Yeah.
out to you guys.
There you
Well,
go.
no,
Yeah, and then what you could do is watch these videos. Make sure you hit the likes on the videos. Make sure to
Yeah.
send a comment
Yep.
their way, and just let them know that
Share 'em.
you're watching. Share them. But yeah, that's the biggest thing too, is share them so other people
Yup,
watch
share
them.
them.
Yeah. All right. So getting into the show proper, as I had started last week, we have a new kind of segment out this week. We have two comics, and they both tie into the War of the Bounty Hunters. We have Bounty Hunters issue number 15. There's really like three separate storylines going on at once in this book. Currently, you have General Fakora, who is a general of the Unbroken Clan, one of the biggest crime syndicates. And she gets basically contacted by Deathstick, who is an agent of Crimson Dawn, and we know Crimson Dawn is dealing with Han Solo and has him and Carbonite, led by Kira. They're sending out all these invites for this auction, so General Vakor receives one of them. Meanwhile, you have this other bounty hunter duo. They're basically wife. You have Tonga as well as Lasha. They're a couple, and they are looking for a team to basically go and get this heir to the Unbroken Clan and Mourner's Wail. It's going to kind of unify the crime syndicates, and obviously Crimson Dawn doesn't want that to happen because Crimson Dawn is the organization that wants to run the underworld. So they are putting together a team, this duo here, and they go and they recruit none other than Tashu Leech. Yes, that's the guy from The Force Awakens that had all the hair, the beard, the long ass hair, and he's part of Kanja Club. And that's the one that Han Solo is talking to when he's on that ship in the beginning of Force Awakens. So I thought that was really cool because you actually get to see this guy in his prime. He has these really cool weapons where they're like these blades that like run down his forearm, almost like wings. And he takes on this huge jacked Zabrak and defeats him in this ring, and they're able to recruit him. And they also recruit a Zuckuss. And the coolest thing about Zuckuss, we've seen this guy a million times, but we've never seen Zuckuss quite like this because when they go to recruit Zuckuss, he is actually at his like hive location, which is filled with his like ammonia stuff, which is what he needs to breathe, which is why he's always wearing an exosuit. But so you actually get to see what he looks like without the exosuit, which is really neat and really kind of frightening at the same time because he has like a little beak thing. You can see his actual eyes and everything else, and it's very different. But that's the biggest thing I took from that issue. Also, you have Bylor Valance and you have Dengar that are continuing to try to find Boba Fett and Han Solo and Carbonite. So they're going across the galaxy. They run into Deathstick, who is that assassin that I mentioned earlier. So there's a lot going on. It feels like a much larger book than it actually is, but it is still like the average length of 20 pages. So Ethan Sachs does a really good job of writing all those narratives and kind of intertwining them. But we also get the 4LOM or 4LOM, however you want to pronounce it. It's like AT-AT and AT-AT with that guy. People have different pronunciations with them. But we have a one-shot that also ties into War of the Bounty Hunters, and it really picks up further along to where we've seen what happened to both of these characters, because back during the earlier part of this event, which takes place after Empire Strikes Back, 4LOM has his head chopped off by Boba Fett, the droid, and he takes his head and he basically throws it off a cliff in Tatooine. So we see that somebody picks up his head and attaches it to like a super like robotic built body compared to what he had before. And then we also have Zuckuss, who's trying to find this guy and doesn't want to give up on him. And 4LOM basically becomes like a cold-blooded killer that doesn't realize that Zuckuss is his friend anymore, and just becomes like psychotic and crazy. And basically, by the end of this issue, Zuckuss goes his way, and 4LM goes his way, which is the first time we really see him, because they're always together in the Legends universe as well as now in canon. These two bounty hunters are like peas in a pod. They're always with each other. They're always saving each other's, got each other's back. So this is a big moment for these guys. Is they're actually out on their own doing their own missions now. So that is basically what happened this week for War of the Bounty Hunters. I know coming out this next week we have 2 High Republic stories. So I'll give a quick recap coming up next week. But getting into one of the biggest stories this week, this came out of nowhere. We are getting another Lego Star Wars special, and this is called Lego Star Wars Terrifying Tales. So what are your guys' thoughts on this? Because we already had the holiday special, and this thing literally came out of nowhere. It's coming out on October 1st. Yeah, let's talk about it.
Did you guys get a chance to check out the article for it, like the breakdown of the general story?
Oh, yes, no, that's why it's very interesting.
Oh, yeah, it's basically like, so it's set after episode 9, and it basically, there's going to be 3 separate stories that are going on, and so what, Chris? They're basically like leading up to, because they're hinting at a like evil force is rising, like there's some type of a dark force coming, and you have these 3 separate stories that like connect to, the overall little plot that's going on.
Yeah, so this is, and I asked Cavan Scott this on Twitter, because Cavan Scott, well-known name in comics, he's doing the High Republic. He has written stories just like this. There's an entire comic line, which is actually ending this October, which is funny enough coming out the same time around this is, of the escape from Vader's Castle, or whatever it's called, Vader's Castle stories, where it's from the IDW comics, so it's an all-age comic. But it still feels like anybody could read this, because they're little like stories that represent Star Wars characters in like an old school horror vibe kind of way that works. He does a really good job of like making like the Frankenstein of Tarkin kind of thing, or making like Count Dooku like Dracula, making all these big villains in Star Wars, all these weird creatures. There's even something about the my friend Chad's gonna love this. Something about the spider bots that are in Jabba's palace, the
Yep.
Bomar monks. There's a whole story about Bomar monks and Bib Fortuna and all those guys. So I really love what they were doing. And Vinay is also in those stories, which we know he got confirmed to be a character in this. So
Yep.
this is very intriguing to me. Very intriguing.
Yeah, that's and Benet, for anybody who doesn't know, that's basically the little butler guy from Rogue One that was with Darth Vader. I mean, there's that, and then I know one of the stories, just for context for you, Milton, one of the stories actually, there's a Hutt who's purchasing Vader's castle on Mustafar. Actually,
Really?
yeah, yeah, that's one of the little stories. I know that. And like we said, it's coming out like around Halloween time, so it's going to be
Right.
like, yeah.
All right. So again, okay. I love Lego. I mean, look, I think everyone who knows the Lego property, most people love Legos. Trust me. The toys, the games, some of them, even some of the cute little movies they made. How many Lego properties do we need for Star Wars? Honestly, I mean, and again, I'm not trying to be negative when I say that. I mean, I think it's a benefit to it. If it sells, great. I think at this point, I know personally, like I want something that's non-Lego, especially whether it's story or video game. Like, give me something else. Now again, Lucas, and we all know Star Wars is made for children, and I get that, and they got to market towards children, so this is a moneymaker. However, us hardcore fans who love this stuff are going to pay attention to it, and I don't want to be set up to, I guess, be disappointed. That's what I'm just because Lego. When I hear Lego, sometimes I'm like, okay, that's kiddie, and hopefully I'm wrong.
Yeah.
Hopefully I am wrong. So I'll give it an opportunity. If I get an opportunity to see it, I'll be fair and objective. If I like it, great. If I don't, then I don't.
Yeah, and it's
I mean,
worth noting. Oh, go ahead there, Ben.
Oh no, I was going to say that's totally understandable. I mean, because some of the Lego properties are just in general, not even Star Wars, are real
Yeah.
goofy. But like the good thing is with Star Wars, at least in their more recent time, anyways, like the holiday special for Lego last year was pretty good. Like it had,
That wasn't bad. That
it
wasn't
had
bad.
some charming
That was really
jokes in
good,
it
yeah.
and stuff, and like I think that's kind of like the vein it'll be set in, like, or we'll be getting some like self-deprecating humor in this. Like
Right.
I could definitely see, after a lot of people, for example, after a lot of people criticized like the Rise of Skywalker and the sequels for bringing back the Emperor again, I definitely think, because even last year for the holiday special, they were poking fun at a lot of like the critiques people said about the sequel movies. And I could definitely see them poking fun at the Emperor thing, like the Emperor being the one coming back to life or whatever, again,
Right.
just to poke fun at everybody about it. Like I could definitely see it going in that direction. But like we were saying in our group chat earlier, like I could see Star Wars potentially, making these things like an annual thing, like
Oh yeah.
a new Halloween
Right.
special, a new holiday special every year. I wouldn't mind that little 30-minute thing. It's, a little 30-40 minute piece of
Yeah.
content. Like, hey, it's more content for us. And especially, with the packed calendar next year, it'll be just something else to throw in there.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
and if it's good, if it's good content, I mean, again,
Yep.
it'll get praised. So
Yeah,
Yep.
and I think it's worth like I know a lot of us it's hard to, but we've been burned some of us a few times by some of the content that's come out, and I know we try to say this every time, but it's like set expectations accordingly. Now it's Lego.
right.
It's not going to probably be 100% canon, but what can happen is they might take some ideas, some broad stroke ideas, and be like, hey, we'll make actual canonical story based off that. But Lego's been always plays it very loose and very fast when it comes to like the current mythology of Star Wars, which is fine. So knowing that, having watched the holiday special, looks like the same, for most of the part, the same people that are involved with that are going to be involved with this. So I feel like it's probably in good hands. The holiday special did a great job of like celebrating Star Wars as a whole through all the different generations. Like it had prequel stuff, sequel stuff, obviously original trilogy stuff in there. And I do want to take the time to just quickly go over the list of people that are playing voice parts in this. So, we have the main cast, which is Jake Green as Poe Dameron. We have Rafael Alejandro as Dean, Dana Snyder as Graballa the Hutt. We have Tony Hale as Vinay, Christian Slater as Ren, Trevar Deval as Emperor Palpatine, and Mary Elizabeth McGuinn as N1LA. David Shane serves as the writer and executive producer, with the director is Kane Cunningham, James Waugh, Josh Rhimes, Jackie Lopez, Jill Wilfert, Keith Malone, and Jason Koser are executive producers. So after reading through those character lists, Christian Slater, he's a pretty big name, isn't he?
Oh yeah, I was gonna say I recognize his name. I feel like hasn't he been in Clone Wars or something? I feel like that's a real recognizable name.
I didn't realize he was doing like voice acting. I mean, I know he has a show on Peacock right now called Dr. Death with Alec Baldwin and Joshua Jackson, but I didn't know he did voice work. I mean, that's cool though. I mean, I'm kind of shocked that he's going to play Kylo Ren. I mean, he'll probably do a good job. He's a good actor.
No,
So.
I don't think he's playing Kylo Ren. I think he's actually playing Ren from the comics, because they would have said Kylo.
So
Ren. That excites me, because they're pulling a freaking deep cut on this show. They're actually going to throw in a character from Charles Soule's really good 4-issue miniseries for like how Ben Solo became Kylo Ren.
Yeah.
So that's like Ren is like the leader of the Knights of Ren, and basically Kylo defeats him to take the mantle of Ren. So I have a feeling like Ren will be probably like they'll probably have a story about the Knights of Ren as like one of the 3 stories, as like a flashback. One of those stories will be about Graballa Hutt, one of them Ren, and one of them will just be surprised, I guess, about what that is. But Graballa the Hutt should be a name that some of you might actually recognize. That Graballa Hutt is a character in the Freemaker Adventures for Lego. I watched the first season of that, and I did like 1 or 2 episodes of the second season. And it's just not like how can I put this? It's not a property that I personally enjoy a whole lot. I watch it just for the sake of watching it because it was Star Wars, and kind of like the same thing I did with the Jedi Temple challenges. I watched a few episodes and I'm like, I'm good. Like I understand what this is about, and it's just not for me. So. But it is cool that they are going to take like a character from that show, obviously, since it's literally the same medium. It's an animated Lego character. Let's just throw more of them into this Lego animated special, like, because why not?
Oh yeah, that's great. And even just going off Milton's point earlier about what like will attract you as a viewer or whatever. I think honestly, like, of course this could be a discussion for a totally different day. But I think they need to make non-canon live action things like this, like these terrifying tales. Make it a live action hour-long special with whatever actors in it, or do a holiday special. Bring back Daisy Ridley or whoever. Like,
oh my gosh.
Do a non-canon holiday special for the holiday and then the Halloween one. Like, do that. Make it kind of campy. Make it kind of cheesy and fun. But people would watch. I feel like people would watch it even more just because it's live action.
Oh, I don't disagree. And honestly, like another thing I'm thinking of too. I mean, again, I watch a lot of Star Wars trailers just from the jump. But even watching like the Old Republic, cinematic videos, give us a style like that animation.
Seriously.
Like I would love to see like that realistic animation of like a 30 or a 90-minute film, which you can tell a 90-minute story with that type of animation. And hell, all the Resident Evil animation films are done that way, and it looks really, really good. So like, I would love to see that type of animation that looks really like real and fleshed out with like some of our original trilogy characters. If they said, hey, you know what, guys, we're going to really do Luke justice. We're going to tell you a 6-hour-long episode of like Luke Skywalker's adventures. Let's say 3 total seasons of like 18 episodes. What happened between that 30 years? Mark Hamill's coming back to do the voice of young Luke, which will gradually go into old Luke. Tell that with that animation style. Oh, I'll be fine with that. I'll be like, you know what? this is the movies that we want. These are, I guess, the movies or episodes we needed to flesh him out. And then I think I'd be okay with how he turned out in the sequel trilogy. Like,
Yeah.
I need that form of storytelling now because the technology's there. Like,
Yeah.
just those 5-minute cinematic trailers, like, so many people love those. So many people.
Yeah.
And they're told so well. So I'm ready for that next animation to be released or given to us from Disney or Lucasfilm.
I would like some kind of, similar to what they're doing with Visions, have some kind of like anthology of a series of, let's say, 8 random 5 to 15 minute long videos that could be anywhere from like a Clone Wars story to like a dog fighting story with like X-Wings and TIE fighters to a High Republic story to maybe even one story that takes place like the aftermath of the First Order and like cleaning up those things happening, which I feel like could be part of the story for Rogue Squadron if it's told after Tyros. But that'd be cool, like having every year having like 5 to 8 episodes of like completely detached stories that are like episodic in nature, that are just one-offs, like kind of like a one-shot comic. Like you have like a one-shot video.
Kind of like what's the show on FX? American Horror Story.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
tell it like that.
That would be great.
You know? Like that'd be kind of fire. Like, because I mean,
Yep.
American Horror Story is well received.
Yeah.
Like if you tell like that, where you maybe a season would tie in all of them later, but most seasons they're very much individualized.
Yeah, yeah.
You know?
But looking at going back to the Lego, I think what they're doing, and Ben mentioned this already, I think what they're doing is they're setting themselves up for like annualized specials, which is cool. I like that idea because, as Ben was saying, and we'll get into this when we talk about the Bad Batch Season 2 stuff, about padding out the entire year of Star Wars content. I think it'd be nice to have like those specific things to kind of look forward to every year. Like, okay, we're at the end of September. That means we're going to be getting, you know, another Star Wars Terrifying Tales, because they could just keep doing this for till the end of time, because the way they set it up is like, okay, we're gonna have like these 3 like ghost campfire story kind of things where they could just keep making those up every year. And holiday special, they could just do like a different planet every year. Instead of Kashyyyk, they can go to like Takodana this year or something like that. You know, just have these annualized things that are just more content. And I'm sure that they don't take that many resources, being they're only like 30 to 40 minutes long, and they already have like the technology, like the whatever the engine or whatever, however the animation's made, they just use that same process every time, and it can't be that resource heavy for them. And it is, you know, and it's on the streaming platform, so they don't have to like market with commercials or anything to spend that kind of money on it. So,
oh yeah, I mean, I think it's definitely a viable thing to do, just because, you know, as you said, it can be kind of a filler between your live action things. And it can be a thing that, you know, it'll eventually grow on fans. It's like, oh, this is like our holiday, like yearly tradition, you know, thing happening. Because look, every year, like whenever Life Day is, I think it's November 17th or 14th. But anyways, whenever it is, Happy Life Day is always trending all over Twitter. Like, you know, so there is like a niche for that, to really keep pushing that every single year. And it comes down to, you know, give us an interesting little story, give us an interesting story, like even for on the Halloween side of things. One thing I thought that would always be cool, whether it be in Lego or animation or whatever, like I think a really cool one to do would be do some spooky story with the Night Sisters, like, because that's real ghosty.
Ooh, yeah.
And, you know, like I think that would be perfect. And, you know, do something along those lines. Like there's so many, you know, quote unquote scary things in Star Wars. There's so many like feel good things, like for the holiday special in Star Wars. Like it's limitless. It all comes down to, you know, you have to make a good blend between, like, you know, obviously the younger audience, but you have to do something to be able to hook like older audience members like us to go, oh, I'll give it a shot, I'll watch it. Like this last holiday special, like I said before, you know, there was so much like self-deprecating humor about the sequels in there. Like, you know, when Kylo meets the Emperor and he mentions Starkiller Base, the Emperor's like, Starkiller Base? Like, that's the dumbest name I've ever heard, or however he says it. Like, you know, like little things like that. Like, that's something, you know, for us as like adult audience members like to get a good little chuckle out of and keep our interest in it. And they have to keep doing that, because if you go straight like Freemaker Adventure style where it's not as much humor, then I don't think it'll work. But as long as you keep some of like the self-deprecating humor in there and, just an interesting little 30-40 minute story, I think it can hook people.
Yeah. Yeah. Very true. Very true. Now, Milton, I know you've been chomping at the bit to talk about this next story here. So we're going to segue right into our more coverage, more news based on the Galactic Starcruiser. We talked, I believe it was last week, they had the poster revealed. And just randomly, they just dropped the entire website with everything we needed to know, including a Q&A section, the pricing, the itinerary, the food, the excursion you could go on, just basically everything, the layouts of the cabins, everything there. So I guess we'll start with the elephant in the room here. What do you think about the price, Milton?
All right. So look, I think it was 2 episodes ago we talked about this experience, like how it's awesome that they're bringing this experience to the fans, and that they're trying to make Star Wars more like, pretty much make it more realistic, where we can live that opportunity. And I'm all about that. Clearly, I am a big fan of them always trying to give us more Star Wars and to make it more tangible and realistic. But after seeing these prices this past week, when we looked in our group chat, miss me with that crap. Okay, only people that are going to this particular experience will be wealthy people, or those who just want to just break their bank and not be able to pay their bills for the next year or so. Because they're to me, like, yes, I'm sure they have to make up some money for some losses. Maybe that's why the prices are what they are. Am I being unrealistic and being ridiculous when I say all this? I don't think so. I think I'm very fair and justified, because, again, I don't want to sound salty at all. I would love to have the opportunity to go to something like this someday. But there's no way I'll be able to do that unless someone pays for it for me, or somehow like I get some type of like, if I win a grand prize from some type of like, whatever, I enter in a promotion contest. There's no way I'm shelling out 50 something $100 for 2 days.
Yeah.
And then we get like one meal. What was it, Chris? It's like 3 meals, a snack, and that's it. Are you treat it like a cruise where like everything's paid for within you do it?
Yeah.
Like that makes no sense to me.
You would think it'd be unlimited.
Yeah, like anytime I go to Top Golf down in Columbia, Maryland, I don't know if you know what that is, but
I know. Yeah.
Top Golf is it's fun. It's very interactive. It's like, but you pay. It's very expensive to do it, but I pay for the $70 price where I'm getting to hit balls the whole time. Plus, I'm getting a crap ton of food and alcohol. Now, if I want anything special outside of that, I pay for it individually. Why don't they do it like that, where you're paying that huge sum of money, you're going to get a limited food, drink. If you want something special outside of that, shell out the extra cash on your own time. To me, it's like, what are they doing here? Like, I don't understand it. Like, there's not going to be many normal people like us that are going unless you have 2 incomes in your home and you got extra disposable income to get rid of. And most average people don't have that.
Yeah.
So my critique is, maybe the pricing might be a little over the top and ridiculous in my opinion. However, I do like the idea of them giving us this opportunity. I want to be able to experience this. I want fans to experience stuff like this. But to me, the pricing and the finance of it, it's like, wow, man, are you seriously? You're telling me you can't at least cut it down like a quarter or maybe a half and not make that up? Because I guarantee you probably get more people coming out if you slash the price in half.
Yeah. So
again, that's my mini rant for that. So
no, that's good. That's good, because people are very interested about going there, and they want to know the price. That's been the number one question. And to be clear on where I'm getting the rates from is from the website itself. You can go to disneyworld.disney.go.com and find it there. And the rates are the standard cabin rates. So these are the lowest bunch. They have multiple tiers of different places you could stay. Like they have, it starts with the standard cabin, as we just talked about. And I'll go through each one of these right now while I'm on the page. So basically the standard cabin is fitted with furnishings and fixtures designed to ensure comfort while traveling throughout the galaxy, including a pull-out table and a TV with entertainment. And this is funny how they phrase this, from your home planet, and a window with a view out into space. So the specifications of the standard cabin sleeps 4 to 5 passengers. The room configuration is a queen bed. You get 2 berths, which are basically like the Camino in bunk beds in the side of the wall, which is kind of cool. They're for 1 adult each, and you have a wall pull down bed. The amenities are a mini fridge, a hair dryer, cabin safe, phone and voicemail messaging, interactive TV, and some kind of like jacuzzi, I guess. H2O plus spa. I'm guessing that's what that is.
So here's my question about the standard then. So maybe I need clarification on this. Did they said it rooms 4 to 5 people or whatever for the standard?
Yeah.
Now is that person, are they paying as a group or individualized? Like, is that 5Gs? How much is it? Did you mention the price?
Oh no, that'd be very good to mention the price. So we have 3 different options, and they claim that these could change depending on the day or the month of whatever.
Okay.
So right now they're saying for the bare minimum, which is just 2 guests per cabin, for the standard, these are all for the standard prices. It's going to be $1,209 per night per person. So that comes to a grand total of $4,809 for 2 people for 2 days and 2 nights.
For 2 days, 2 nights, I'm
That's
paying
without taxes.
Yeah. Now, how much total was that again?
$4,809.
Yeah, I'm good. Like honestly, like think about that.
Standard.
Like you're paying for 2. And where's it located? Like in Florida or wherever it's going to be located at?
Yeah.
So I'm going to drive 15 hours from Pennsylvania, shell out gas money there. Or if I fly, that's about $300, depending on where you get your flight. And then you got to get on this and shell out another 4 Gs for 2 days, 2 nights, and come back and fly back again. No, I'm good. That ain't worth it.
Yeah, you're talking at least about $6K.
That makes no sense financially. If they said, okay, get it for a week, all right. That's a once in a lifetime opportunity for 7 days, whatever it is. Great, I'm all about it.
Yeah, so
2 days ain't worth it.
Put it in perspective. If I go to one of the most expensive places in the world, probably this day, which is Manhattan, an hour away from where I live, this is probably 4 times the price of a night in Manhattan, which is one of the most priciest places to stay in a hotel. So
I'm about to say you can probably get a cheaper hotel or you can probably go to a nicer hotel or a nice hotel in Manhattan and get a cheaper price compared to this.
Yeah.
And like hell, if you go to the beach, if you go to Virginia Beach, which is like 5 hours from where I live, Virginia Beach is cheaper, and that's very exclusive to get hotels because how it is in the summer. Yep. Like that's cheaper.
Oh, I know.
There.
We go there every summer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like go there. And I know.
Yeah, we go there every summer, and like sometimes the last couple summers we've just got some sketchy cheap Red Roof Inn hotels for like $50 a night, but hey, it gets the job done.
Yeah.
And
but if you decide to go like beach or get a hotel near the water, that's where it's more expensive.
Oh,
but it's still cheaper than what
nothing
this is.
near $5,000. Like. Now, what's the other prices, Chris?
Okay,
before we get too deep into this,
there's 2 others. There's 3 guests per cabin. This one is 2 adults, and if you have 1 child with you. So that's where the prices start to come down. So then it would be $889 per night for a grand total of $5,299. And then the other option would be 4 guests per cabin, and it says parentheses. I guess you could have like 3 adults and like 1 child, for instance, and that says $749 per night, $5,999. So yeah, the $749. If you can scrounge up getting 3 other friends, it's a lot more affordable, obviously, than just going with you and a friend.
Which makes sense. I think if they said, hey, you're paying for 3 nights or whatever, you're paying was it 20, maybe $2,100 maybe per person, or whatever how it is. Like maybe that's reasonable, but still though, like I don't know, man. I just have a hard time with this.
For 2 days, it
ain't worth it.
Yeah.
For 2 days, like for 2 days,
here's
though.
The thing. Yeah, well, and here's the thing, and I'm gonna segue right into when I can find the itinerary. And now this is what's gonna make things seem different, because in our heads, there's nothing that exists like this in reality. Like there's nothing that has ever been done like this before. Basically what this is if for those of you familiar with like gaming and RPG, like this is like a LARP, which is like a live action role playing game for
Mm-hmm.
2.5 days. You're in Star Wars. They even like transport you. Like when you go to the terminal, they have like the address to go to this terminal. You valet park your car, they park it for you, you get your luggage, you go through this thing, and next thing you know, you're on a dropship heading for the Galactic Starcruiser. And then from that point on, like even when you go to Galactic Galaxy's Edge, like when you go there, you go into a van that looks like a ship from the inside. So you feel like you're in Star Wars without ever leaving once. Immersion.
Mm-hmm.
So like the immersion level will be like entirely there the whole time. And here's like a sample itinerary. Bear with me here because it's going to be a lot of stuff, and then we can just go ahead and discuss like everything. So there's really 3 days, even though it's 2 days. So it goes as follows. Like day one, for instance, 1 o'clock you would arrive at the terminal. 1:15 to 1:30 you would launch pod the Starcruiser, which would be that like terminal thing I was talking about. Then you would have a ship orientation from 1:45 to 2:15. Then you would have light refreshments from 3 to 3:30. After that, you would have sabacc lessons, which sounds really cool, 3:30 to 4. After that, something called the muster, which is from 4 to 4:30. Then you would have the captain's reception from 4:30 to 5. And then after that, you would have dinner featuring live music from 5:30 to 7. After that, you would have the Outer Rim Regalia, whatever that is. That's from 7:15 to 7:30. And then this is something we'll talk about a little later after I run through everything. Then you have the unexpected story moments, where basically something organic happens, where it's like the live action role playing aspect, where you could, like, for instance, prove your mettle to join an elite smuggling ring or hide a stowaway to help the resistance. That would be from like 7:30 to 8. After that, they would have bridge training from 8 to 8:45, and then something called a special atrium entertainment from 8:30 to 8:45. So that these are all like instances, nothing set in stone, but like these could be things that you could be doing like the entire time. So that's for day one. Then you would go into day two. You would wake up, breakfast from 7 to 8. Then you would take a transport shuttle to BAT 2 from 8:15 to 8:25. From there, you would jump right onto the Star Wars Rise of the Resistance ride at the park from 8:45 to 9:30. From that, there would be another one of those story moments where it's like, hey, you can deal with a heist or arrange to steal a ship for the First Order. That's from like 9:30 to 9:50, for instance. After that, you could ride the Millennium Falcon Smuggler's Run attraction from 10 to 10:30. Then you would grab lunch over at the lunch pad or docking bay 7 food and cargo thing from 11:15, 11:45. After that, you would go back to the hotel Starcruiser, and then you would do lightsaber training from 1 to 1:30. After that, you would do droid racing competition from 2:30 to 2:15. 250. Then you would have the build model ship portion where you would go 3 to 3:30. Then a sabacc tournament from 4 to 5. Cocktails at the Sublight Lounge from 5 to 5:30. After that, it would be the Taste Around the Galaxy dinner from 5:30 to 7. Then there would be another one of those story moments. Then you would have the whatever is called the spectacular finale from 10 to 11. And then the day 3 is really you're just going to get up, have breakfast, and go home by like 10 o'clock. So there, I know that's just a ton of stuff. Now, that seems a lot more like a cruise than anything else, because I've been on one cruise and I remember like kind of like going through a
Everything's scheduled
schedule.
out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
But how long were you on your cruise though, Chris?
5
That's the
days.
question.
5 days. Okay. And I'm sure your parents shelled out a good chunk of change for that. Fine. That makes sense. And I'm sure there's some downtime on that cruise where you don't have to do everything. You can relax. You can just walk around and interact with the other cruise mates. Okay. Now I'm sure you have that same opportunity here, but no one's not going to want to relax and hang out because you only got 2 days. You can't really enjoy yourself.
No.
Like that. That's where like, what are they thinking?
Well, Milton, while before you get into a rant, here's something to throw into there as well. So while Chris was reading, I was doing some calculations. So for the $5,000 one for the standard package, you're
ridiculous.
basically so per hour per day you're paying them close to like a little over $300 per hour is basically what it or for the $5,000 one. It's like 275 to 300 about like somewhere in there per hour. Like,
Yeah, miss me with that. Like, I'm sorry. Whoever's listening and watching, like, you don't ever see me like this, but to me, it's like, this makes no sense how they're trying to structure this. And again, I'm no expert on cruises and how the money works. Like, so I'll be the first one to tell you that. But for 2 days where I get no downtime or just I can't explore, because if I'm in Star Wars, what's one thing we're going to want to do? We're going to want to explore where we're at.
yep.
Okay. I need that opportunity to take a breath. Hey, I'm going to go check out this place. I'm going to check out this place. Yeah, I'm going to do the stuff that's within the itinerary, but I want to be able to touch Star Wars and feel it and then be immersed in it and just get comfortable. You know what I'm saying? Like, how can I do that for within 2 days with all this stuff going on? No time to soak it in.
Yeah.
Like, and I'm spending nearly over nearly half $10,000 or half of $10,000. You know, like, come on, man. Honestly, that's sitting in my savings account right now. Like, no, that's not happening. Like, I just can't do it. Like, I'm not breaking my savings account because of that.
The only time you would have looks like on the first day you would have.
That's what I'm saying.
3 hours probably, because if you have to get up at 7, you want to at least get like 7 hours of sleep. So you'd after the first day you get done whatever that thing at 8:45. You would maybe go around, grab a drink at the thing, and then go back, I guess. And then what really bothers me too is you go to the theme park for 3 freaking hours. Like, I don't know about you, but like, I'd be at the theme park for 8 hours and still trying to find stuff.
And let's be real, and we're not talking about this. How many people are going to, it's going to be packed and busy, and especially if you go early on, there's going to be a lot of bugs to work out, a lot of kinks.
Mm-hmm.
The staff probably won't be as crisp yet, so there will be like defaults and delays. Come on now, just saying. Like, they have to understand, like, this experience probably won't go off like how they would think it should, and there'll be a lot of unhappy people initially. I guarantee you that.
I just want to know about these unexpected story moments, like that. There's like 3 of them spaced out. Like, those things have to be incredible, because that's really what you're paying for. Like, what you're paying for is like the immersion and for your own Star Wars adventure. Like, that's what it's all about. Like, you're paying to be your own Star Wars character for like 2 days and feeling like you're actually doing something in the galaxy. So if it's just like some like actor guy that shows up and is hungover from the day before, and it's just like, he gives you like a paper, like, oh, you just got to go talk to this person. Okay, they'll give you this thing, and then it's like, that was it. Like,
I better be getting like 5 or 10 Black Series lightsabers from them at the end of this trip. Oh, you know what? Just because we know it's only 2 days, here's each Black Series lightsaber that you want, all legit. I'm like, okay, cool. I think I'd be fine with that. But I better be getting something good out of it. Not even joking.
And I don't even know if the costumes. I don't even think the costumes are included. Which, if they were, I would have been like, okay. If it's like a $300 costume, I would probably be maybe okay.
Wait a minute. Did you just say the costumes weren't included?
No, from my understanding, they're not. Well, I looked into it. It doesn't look like it.
Yo, we got
it.
I'm out.
They plug something. Oh yeah, if your wardrobe is currently limited to a single planet, Star Wars Galaxy apparel is available in advance from Shop Disney.
And I bet you they cost an arm and a leg just to get a freaking cloak.
It probably cost you like $400.
Well, here's the thing, guys. Like Milton said, what if, like, even set the Black Series thing aside, or why not include a trip to whatever it's called, the lightsaber shop in Galaxy's Edge, and go build your lightsaber? Like, shouldn't that be included in this $5,000 package? Like,
you're right. They don't have you visiting like half the stuff. Like, you don't go to Oga's Cantina, which I hear is amazing. You don't go to the droid factory, which my friend went to. You don't go to the lightsaber place. You just basically go to Batuu to go on 2 rides, get lunch, and go right back, is what it looks like.
Yeah. I've heard friends who went down to Disney World who's gone to not just Galaxy's Edge, but like different parts of the whole Star Wars they got down there. They get a lot more out of that at the normal park when it comes to Star Wars than they probably would at this little event, like this particular thing.
Yeah.
And that to me makes no sense.
It doesn't look like there's a whole lot going on. I'm looking at this right now. You have the bridge training, which, hey, that looks like that could be really freaking cool. Other than that, you have the place where you get your meals, which is the same place over and over again. There isn't like multiple restaurants. There is basically the Coruscant crest or whatever it's called. And it looks like it just changes over to dinner later on. Like you would just go there, get your breakfast, go to the same place, get the lunch. Like most other like resorts, like there's multiple places you would go for like your
Yeah.
restaurant. And you have the Sublight Lounge, which okay, I got to give it to them. That actually looks kind of cool because it was like a sabacc like table. Whether or not those things are
Right.
actually holographic, because in the concept art they're holographic, of course, but maybe it's not like that. If it is, I'll be impressed. But so yeah, it's like you got the Sublight Lounge, you got the lightsaber place, and you got the bridge, and the dining place. There's like four places basically that are on the ship that you might visit more than once, but that's about it. It looks like to me.
It's funny though. Like, I bet you going to Las Vegas is probably cheaper than this,
Oh, way
Oh, yeah.
cheaper. You can go to
which is
Las
crazy.
Vegas so easily.
Yeah, it's like wow. Like, and again, like I've never been to Vegas. I would love to someday, and I'll probably just make a point to go there just to say, hey, I'm not spending a god tons of money going there compared to Disney. Just what are they thinking? I just don't know, and I don't understand it. Like again, I'm glad that they're trying to bring this experience to us. I'm very grateful for that.
Yeah.
However, it sounds limited. It's super expensive. I don't think it's not going to be fun. That's so I don't want to say that, but it's the truth. I don't know.
Well, yeah,
Maybe I'm just being weird about it, but I don't know.
Well, I mean,
No,
what they say is like, look, you don't have to be an active participant. You don't have to do, I mean, you don't have to do every one of those things. But I mean, if I was there, I would want to do every one of those things because it's like, I paid good
Absolutely.
money.
Yeah,
I gotta do this, and you
$5,000.
feel exhausted. Like you feel like I couldn't even meet anybody on this damn thing. Like I was just like with my own crew, and we went home. Like,
Yeah, it just I don't like I said, it's just crazy. But here's the money part of it, guys. If you think about it, it holds 100 people. That's
Yeah.
say five grand. That's 500 grand per 2 days if it's booked. Like, so you can rake in the money that way if it would turn out to be popular. But the problem is, I don't think they're ever going to have it booked to full capacity because
I
it's
don't
just
know
so
about that.
expensive.
I don't know about
I
that.
don't know.
Yeah,
I think
I
it
kinda
will be.
really
I
disagree
think
with
this
that.
thing
just-
sells out in 10 seconds for the next 3 years. Mark my
Yeah,
words.
there is, yeah, that's true, because there is a
Man,
lot
It's
of
Star Wars, and
sheer
people
value,
are
yeah.
over
Yeah,
the
man,
world.
there's
People
a
in
lot of wealthy
Japan,
people
Italy,
in the world.
Germany, and there's only 100 rooms. That's like my
Yeah.
dad works at a smaller hotel, and it actually has more rooms than this place.
Yeah.
So it's like,
Man,
what
there
the
there are
heck?
a lot of wealthy people in the world that would jump on this quick.
That
Now,
is true.
look, if I was a multimillionaire and if money's not an option, yeah, I would not complain at all. I'd be like, whatever, it's only like a penny to me. So you'll have people like that who are whether it's business people, lawyers, entertainers,
Mhm.
whomever in the world, prentices, sultans, whatever. They'll pay for this.
Yep. Oh, 100%. Now, here's the thing too. Also, it comes down to, speaking of booking, it matters how you would book to get into it, because I know I've seen complaints like about the whole Marvel campus experience or whatever out in California, like that. Like, notably John Campia, like him and his
Yeah.
wife, when they tried to book, it wouldn't let them book together. Like they, it would book him, but it wouldn't book her. Like she was having to book as an individual customer separately. Like, and there was all kinds of issues like that. So, they're going to have to make sure their booking system is flawless, because you don't want to be like trying to book and then like it's like, oh, you mess up the capacity of how many people are coming to your room or whatever. Like they're gonna have to make sure it's smooth sailing, just so they don't screw over a lot of customers.
Oh man. Yeah. So, man, oh man, that is our thoughts on Galactic Starcruiser. Yeah, might we sound a little bit pessimistic toward this experience? Sure. I sure hope that I can one day scrounge up the cash, or
Yeah.
at least hear what this. I'm very curious about these first wave of reviews, like how these people are going to explain, because it comes down to the experience. If this thing is not like a 10 out of 10 experience, it's not going to do very well for that kind of price. It's got to be.
Yeah.
People are going to have to be speechless walking out there. They're going to have to be like, this is the best thing ever, essentially, to kind of make that price worth it.
Right. You're not wrong. I mean,
Yeah.
hell, like I'd rather go to like WrestleMania 10 times over than pay this type of money for this, because WrestleMania is a week.
Well,
Like I'd rather go to the Super Bowl, and that's a week event, especially in the town. Go ahead, Ben.
that's the thing, Milton. I was just going to say, so think about this for the Super Bowl. If you're just going as a single person for your favorite team for the NFL season, that's about 20 total games. And normally for all the games minus the Super Bowl, you can get tickets about, $200 a piece or so, something like that, if not cheaper if you sit higher up. So
Right.
say, just for 19 games of the NFL season, you can spend about $4,000 for 19 games. And then for the Super Bowl tickets are, upper deck tickets are like $800-900. So for the price of this experience, you could basically go to every single one of an NFL team's games, including the Super Bowl.
Whoa.
Yeah, so you're gonna have to save from day one. Like you have to like, hey, let me shell out 300 this week or this Sunday.
Yep.
Really, like you're not wrong. I mean,
It's
that's
20
preseason.
weeks.
That's
Yeah.
preseason included.
Yeah.
Because preseason tickets are probably what, $50 a pop,
If not
maybe
cheaper,
less.
yeah.
If not cheaper because it's preseason. But
Yeah.
like, because I know for a fact when I go to an Eagles game, because I used to go to Eagles games with my buddy Nathan, I usually pay about $80 a ticket.
Yep.
Because
that's
and we
not
sit
bad.
up like in one of the not higher decks, but one of the third levels, but it's still pretty good. $80 per ticket, and that's not bad at all. I get a great view, and mind you, that a lot of these stadiums are freaking huge. You got the big jumbotrons, so you're seeing it right there.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I said, you're right. That's how crazy it is, and it's like I'd rather spend money on a Super Bowl ticket or NBA Finals ticket or a World Series ticket, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Because again, that yeah.
Well, I mean, yeah, exactly like that. Like, heck, I even saw just some random fan on Twitter like tweeted something about a couple weeks ago. There was some fan event or something, and they got to like get an autograph from Ewan McGregor, and it was like $300 to meet him. But I would rather pay $300 to meet and talk to Ewan McGregor for 5 minutes than waste $300 on something I'm not like all in on.
Well, because Chris, have you gone to Chris, you've been to Star Wars Star Wars convention, yeah.
Oh yeah. I went to the one over there in Chicago. Yep.
So talk to us about that. How much, if you don't mind getting into that, how much you pay for that trip?
Probably like 2,000.
Okay,
So,
and that was for how many days? What, 4 or 5 days you were there?
Like
long the
5-6 days. With the plane tickets.
Yeah.
The tickets for the event cost like maybe $200 to $300. But then you gotta realize like food, travel, transportation, and if you want to, especially if you want to buy stuff.
Yeah, but that's around 2,000 ish, probably give and take a little bit more, right?
Yeah.
That's really, honestly, you paid good money for a week event at a Star Wars convention that's global.
Mm-hmm.
So compared to going to Florida, wherever this place is located, and for 2 days, bro, for $5,200, no way. I'd rather go to Star Wars Celebration any day and pay the $2,000 and get a week's full experience, meet the fans, meet the celebrities, just interact with fandom all day. That's so more fulfilling than going to something like this.
Oh yeah. Well, time will tell. This thing, by the way, is opening in spring of 2022, so we're already just a couple months away at this point. So it is going to be very interesting, and we will continue talking about this as we get more details for sure.
Yeah.
We got some bad news with the video game front. Me and Ben talked about this last week, and yeah, I was right on my calculations. It looks like Star Wars Hunters is delayed to 2022. This is not a game that I'm particularly looking forward to that much, to be honest with you guys. It's like that fighting MOBA game or something that's going to be on the Switch and Android devices and Apple. It's going to be like one of those, I feel like a lot of microtransactions. It's going to be like, oh, buy this armor for this price. One of those types of games.
Yeah.
I'm saying that now, but that's based off of literally nothing that I've seen about this game, because all we got was that teaser trailer, and they're like, hey, this game exists. So the fact that we don't even have gameplay yet means this thing is like probably way off anyway, which is why I speculated like that's probably what's happening with it. So yeah. So now we're down an EA Star Wars game this year. We don't have Star Wars Hunters, so it's up to Lego Star Wars to like really come out and be the only Star Wars game this year. They're all our only hope, as Princess Leia once said. So yeah, not much else to say about this one. But here's a really good piece of news here. Bad Batch season 2 has been confirmed. We're getting that in 2022. It's been interesting that they took this long to announce it. I figured at this rate they would have just told us this like after the credits of the final episode of season 1, because they seem to be doing that between Mandalorian season 2 and between Loki with getting a season 2. As they seem to like hold these things right at the end. But now it's nice knowing this going into the finale, which we'll talk about a little bit here in a second. But I think this is cool because the way that you hashed it all out, Ben, in the chat was you were like, you did all the math and you figured out how many weeks of Star Wars we possibly could have next year. So try to recap all that for us here.
Yeah. Okay. So basically, if you think about it this way, I didn't even think about it until just a couple days ago when I was messaging the guys in the chat. So basically, the math turns out to be between, for starters, we have Book of Boba Fett coming this December, and presumably since it's going to be multiple seasons, I'm guessing it's going to be like Mando. It'll be 8 episodes. So that means even if it comes out the second week of December, that means we'll only get 2 episodes December, and then that'll be 6 episodes into January and February. And then you add in 6 episodes for Kenobi, wherever that drops. Then Andor is confirmed to be 12 episodes. And then you got Bad Batch. Presumably it's going to be another 16. It'll be like the Clone Wars formula. Instead of 20, it'll be 16. So we got 16 episodes of Bad Batch. Then we got 8 episodes of Mando. So wherever that drops, you have all of this. Once you add everything up, we have 48 out of the 52 weeks of content. So, our whole calendar is pretty much full of Star Wars content the entire year of 2022. And that's not including if they do another 1 or 2 of these. Let's say if they do another a terrifying special and holiday special, that would be 50 weeks.
Whole year of Star Wars.
Out of 52. And then let's just say, hypothetically, what if Visions goes over great this September? Okay, boom. We might be up to like 51 weeks of Star Wars potentially. And that's not including any video game releases that are coming out either. So, because I personally don't think Lego's coming this year, so we'll have Lego thrown in there somewhere as well. So like we potentially are going to have the entire calendar year full of Star Wars content for 2022.
Oh my gosh. This is when it all begins, guys. This is when it all starts.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a lot of content. Do you think that fans will react and say, "Oh, we're getting Star Wars oversaturated"? Like, you get that argument all the time, whether it's about Marvel, DC comic book movies. Do you think you'll get that complaint of, "Yeah, it's oversaturated with all the Star Wars content"?
Oh yeah, we'll definitely get that. But here's the thing: if they make it good, there's no reason to argue that ever.
Say that again, Chris. I'm sorry, I missed that.
No, I was just saying, yeah, we're going to get that argument. A lot of the people out there, the usual suspects, are going to say that. But if the content's good, then there's no reason to complain. If they can keep making things unique, like, let's take a look at each one of these projects, right? Book of Boba Fett, that's something brand new. Everybody's obviously excited about that. No one's saying that, oh, this is going to be terrible. Not that I've heard of. Andor, okay, that's great. We haven't seen Cassian in like 5 years. A Rogue One live action, big, spectacular thing. That's going to be awesome. It's spy thriller.
And let's think about that. That movie was well received, and that character was well received. So
yes. Yeah. I mean, no one out there also has said anything bad about Kenobi, to my knowledge. People are.
Oh God, no. That's
really
first of all, that's my number 1 pick of like what I'm anticipating to see.
Yep. Judging by Bad Batch, obviously, if this finale lands well and it leads into a good season 2, people are going to be excited about that too. And then Mando season 3, the biggest show on TV, easily probably, that's going to go big as well. So I think with like all those, they all are unique enough and big enough to really act on their own to draw people in. So people could say that just for the sake of being contrarian. They're going to just be like, oh, Disney is oversaturating this stuff. But the people that actually watch this content are going to be like, oh, this is awesome.
Yeah, I think... Oh, I was going to say, I think as well, another thing to throw out there, I think there's a potential chance Book of Boba might roll right into Mando season 3. Like, if we go by the whole thing of Book of Boba being, Mando season 2.5 or whatever that came out, like, Like, what if Book of Boba rolls right into Mando season 3, where they're like, "Hey, we're gonna have a couple week break. Boom, Mando season 3, continuing Book of Boba." Like,
I don't think they can because they haven't even shot it yet. So they'd be
oh
like
yeah, that's
super
true.
behind on production.
Yeah,
I think the
about
earliest we're going to see this thing is like the same time that Book of Boba Fett comes out. I wouldn't be surprised if season 3 doesn't come out till November or even maybe December at this rate.
Right, right.
Oh
No,
yeah,
and,
that's
and, and
true.
Chris, I agree with your point about how if it's good, like people want to complain. Just like if they build it, they'll come. You know, the Field of Dreams reference.
There's no way
Um,
that the Marvel Cinematic Universe has gone on for this long with people saying it's
yeah,
boring because they keep getting breaking
facts.
box office records. Even I mean, before the pandemic, they were. So there's
Absolutely.
that argument doesn't hold any water.
No, facts. I mean, I think ever since Batman Begins, that was 2005. So from
Yep.
'05 till now, like with the comic book movies genre, how it's changed and how the writing is so rich. A lot of those movies are way better than regular thespian cinematic films because how they write these films. So again, they're good, and we're gonna come back and watch them. You know, I compare it to like this. Like people say, "Oh, oversaturation is a bad thing." I'm like, the same people saying that are the same ones who eat a lot of cake and candy, and they say, and this will say it's bad for you, but you keep eating it. Okay, so like I don't want to hear that. All right, cake and candy is good, and we know it's not good for our bodies, but we still love it because it brings us joy and happiness in the moment when we eat them. So stop with that. When Star Wars and these comic book movies come out, I'm going to eat it up because it makes me feel good. Just
Yep.
saying.
Oh,
Yeah.
100%. Like when it comes to the whole oversaturation thing, the cake and candy is a really good point. Or even, we're all adults here, and a lot of people listening maybe. If someone goes out and regularly like has a couple drinks on the weekend after they get done with the work week, and then complains about this, I'll be like, hold up, wait, like, but you're not getting oversaturated with alcohol. So it's like,
That's a good
so it's
point.
like, so it's like, so it's like, so it's like, what's going on here? Is it one or the other?
Yeah.
And
Because
then,
I just drank last night after work, so yeah, it's all good.
yeah, so that's an example. And then also another thing we got to think about as well, when it comes to, we see so much of this online discourse of like people saying, oh, it's oversaturated, or all this debate over these shows and all this stuff. But like in the US anyways, I'm pretty sure like the most recent like statistics, only like 12% of the US is on Twitter, for example. So like such a small minority of our population is on Twitter in the US compared to the wide audience that watches Disney Plus. Like I guarantee you there's more Disney Plus members than people on Twitter, like here in the US anyways.
Facts.
And like, also, people even, if we stick to the whole like online discourse and talk about it, like there are so many people that just won't even watch the animated shows, for example, just because they only want to watch live action, which is fine. Like I'll watch all the animated shows because we're all hardcore Star. I mean, we're sitting here on a Friday night talking Star Wars on a podcast. Like we're hardcore fans. But like there's a lot of people like, I always use my grandma as an example. She watches all the live action stuff, but there's no way she would ever watch an animated anything.
Facts. Same with my dad.
Yep.
Yeah.
So when literally when just a couple weeks ago when we were over there, she wanted me to pull up The Mandalorian for her on Disney Plus, and she's like, "Oh, what's that Bad Batch show that's on there?" And I said, "Oh, that's an animated one." She's like, "Oh, I don't need that kid's crap." And there's a lot of people that are like that though, like that just don't get into animated anything, which is fine. But so really, if you cut out 16 episodes out of say 48, that cuts it down to 32 weeks out of 52 weeks, which that spreads the content a lot more.
Right.
Yeah. And speaking of just overlapping or any kind of content, do you think it's possible that they might actually have like Bad Batch coming out at the same time as a certain live action show if they don't stagger them?
I mean, I could see them staggering them, but at the same time, like I can see them making it a big deal by releasing it on its own because Bad Batch that premiere did really really well. I think fans really was receptive towards that, and they built that up pretty well. How they marketed that, so I could see them then trying to get the numbers and the views up to push it an individual property and keep it away from another property that's already out. So I think if they say, hey, because at this point with Bad Batch, we know the Empire is phasing out certain things to get us to the original trilogy at one point. So I can see them tying it into Kenobi, marketing it within them, and then going from there, So it's crazy. Like I can see the marketing building off of that show.
Yeah, I can see that. I can see that.
Oh,
And
yeah.
just talking about the significance of this show getting a season 2, we're going to talk a little bit about just what that means, because I wasn't sure this show was getting a second season, in the fact of I was like maybe kind of hoping that they would have a continuation of these characters in sort of like a Clone Wars anthology. Like the first season would be technically called The Bad Batch, and then the second season could be something called like, I don't know, the Spark of the Rebellion. I don't know, just give it like another name, kind of like what we were talking about American Horror Story does. Like they have a different season, it's like a different show. But yet this would be able to connect. Like you would still follow Omega, she would be with other characters, and it would be following them around. I think that could have been an interesting idea, but now we know for sure it's going to be season 2 of Bad Batch. So we're going to get all these characters again. And I think what that means is hopefully so much of this world building in season 1 pays off, because there's many of these episodes that just didn't land for us because they didn't seem consequential at the time. So now knowing that this has a season 2, it kind of gives us a little bit more of like a safety net, being like, okay, can't get too hard on these episodes because we know for a fact that they'll probably come back at some point, even though at the time they might have not been the most entertaining things for us to watch, not knowing the future of the show. So it's nice knowing that the season 2 exists just for, okay, they have a wider array of storytelling and taking it from there.
Yeah, I slightly disagree with you, Chris. Just because I don't think knowing that a season 2 is happening is an excuse for bad storytelling. Like
Right.
I don't think that's an excuse at all, because like, we always use the Arrowverse as examples on here just because it's a real good example. But there's so many episodes of Arrow, for example, where they have side episodes and they don't mean anything. And they don't mean anything at all and have no consequences further down the road. And it's basically like, oh, you just wasted an episode of our show for nothing. And I feel like, honestly, like we could get into that with this show, because I mean, really, under like Disney, like the animation department, we've had that happen before. Like one example I always use from Rebels, for example, the Lando pig episode where he's like using the pigs to help like find gold or whatever the storyline is. Like that never comes back. Or tracks again, really. So it's like, are we going to just be getting filler episodes that are pointless for the show just to basically fill a time slot to basically help them have a show for the entire summer months, for half of May, then June, July, August? Like, is this just going to be basically like, hey, instead of making this like 10 or 12 episodes, let's make it 16 and really stretch it as much as we can? And that's what makes me skeptical about it, because, then we get into realms of like, are we just making excuses for bad storytelling?
Yeah, so, it's something to think about. Yeah, that's obviously a factor. But we'll see when we get there. So, Milton, before we dive into the episode called Escape from Camino, which is part 1 of the season 1 finale, let's give us like a quick little review of the last episode, War Mantle.
Yeah, I actually enjoyed the episode. Again, I maybe I said something to you guys last week, but in the group chat, I like that it actually was fleshing out some of the story. It was pushing the narrative pretty much, and it led up to something that we always been wanting, was like, Crosshair hunting down these guys, and how it ended. He captured Hunter, and I thought the episode served his purpose. I thought that the narrative was well told. It was a really good action type of an episode, and even with how today's episode went, I think these with the premiere and even like episode 2, these 2 episodes back to back probably were some of the best storytelling they've told in a while. You know,
Oh
and,
yeah.
and I'm gonna throw in there too with the whole Cad Bane stuff. Like that was all good too. But most recently, these past 2 episodes, last week and this week's probably the best storytelling they've told in a while
Oh
because
yeah.
it made sense. It's telling a story. It's interconnecting. We are now really immersed with these characters because this is what we've been asking for, like for like the last 10 weeks.
Yeah, they really like teased us kind of with that first premiere episode. Like, oh my gosh, we're gonna get this quality Star Wars every week, and the quality's been there for like the visuals and the sound and all
Yeah,
that. But as far as like the storytelling, it hasn't been as consistent with like a nice through line out all the time. And it,
yeah,
you got to give them, I guess, a little bit of credit. And here we go with that season 2. Glasses looking forward or whatever. It's like, hey, they were trying to do character building. A lot of those episodes were like, hey, this is how Omega becomes a really good strategist, or hey, this is how Hunter is like the leader of the group. So it's like, yeah, we needed those episodes. We get those in Star Wars Rebels and stuff, but now we're towards the end of season 1, and we're really starting to see like the overall plot finally get addressed, finally really feel like it's hitting the ground running and things are coming to a head. So it's great that you enjoyed it. Me and Ben also really enjoyed the War
yeah.
Mantle episode and really getting more of
Yep.
that juicy
Oh, it was
storyline.
great.
Yeah, so we're talking about today. The episode that came out is called Escape or Return to Camino. And at the
Camino.
time when I watched this, they'd even have the title. Like they'd even want to spoil the title. They were just like finale part 1. They do that sometimes. You watch it early enough in the morning. I don't know if you noticed that, Ben, but yeah, I got up early and watched this one.
I noticed that at 3:00 this morning.
So anyway, this episode really picks up kind of right where the previous episode left off. Hunter is captured by Crosshair. He's brought back to Camino. By the time they get to Camino, there's not a single clone on Camino because the previous episode they were basically evacuated to another area. We see that even Nalase is gone, and you do have the Stormtrooper recruits, like the Generation Zero Stormtroopers are there. You have the Bad Batch. They're with Sid, but then they leave the planet to go there, and they find their own clone tanks and stuff that they were used to be in, and they all basically link up with Hunter. And it turns out that Crosshair had his ship removed the entire time and is just pro-Empire on his own volition. So that is the big twist. They stun him, and as they try to make their way out, something that I didn't even see happened, and that is the destruction of Camino has begun now that the Empire has basically stolen all of the cloning tech and the know-how from the Camino. And so, man, oh man, I mean, my reaction was, there was some stuff that I speculated that, listening to enough podcasts and being on the Twitter sphere, people have been like, oh yeah, watch him have his chip removed and he was doing this the whole time. Yeah, so that was something I kind of figured would happen. But I think they pulled off the drama, and the way that it was kind of proceeded throughout the show was very effective. Right. I think the action was great. The music was awesome. They had that Attack of the Clones music that we haven't heard in like freaking 20 years.
That was good.
That was awesome. And just seeing the ruthlessness of Rampart and seeing how Rampart has really started to become a good villain, even though that Moff Tarkin was able to kind of give him the instructions. We're still seeing that Rampart is being that guy that's like, hey, I'm making a name for myself now that I'm Admiral.
Yeah, I guess I'll give my thoughts on it. So like, love this episode from the beginning to the end. Again, it's one of my favorite episodes of the whole series so far. Again, it told a complete story and is continuing that story from last episode. Crosshair, that I did not see that coming, that he took the chips already out. Didn't know that, which I'm glad I didn't know, because honestly, I think I watched it and said like, what the F? Like, I was like, damn, I didn't see that coming. And just to see like how he's all about his brothers still, which was cool to see, but he has different ambitions. So it's like he's trying to have his cake and eat it too. Like he's like, hey, join me guys, we're still brothers. I'm going to give you a chance, but I don't want to like do what you guys want to do. I want to become powerful, pretty much, like kind of like that Sith type of way of thinking. Overall, I love the music. The action was fire. The overall story was great. And it was nice to see that Camino got blown up. Not because I wanted it to, but if you think about it, it's never referenced in the original trilogy. It is never referenced in the sequel trilogy. It's never even referenced in a lot of like the book materials. So it's like, well, what did happen to Camino? Because you would assume that someone would have got that technology besides the Empire and try to use it. So it's cool to see that they're going to fill that gap in. So that was nice.
I'm gonna mention Alex Elkins. He's been doing some great comments in the thread here. Um, he is saying, I do understand Crosshair's point of view and why and that they left him and his
Right.
might have been but somehow he joins the group again. Didn't they drag him with them?
Yeah, Hunter picked him up.
Yeah. Well, yeah, they stunned him, but
Yeah.
I think with that comment from Alex, like it's along the lines of like, Crosshair was basically, he was on a vengeance path basically,
Yeah.
because he doesn't really care about the Empire. He doesn't really care about like the Republic or whatever, or like he cares about like becoming powerful and, vengeful, like, so maybe I feel like with them taking him, I do like agree with that. Like I definitely could see Crosshair turning good, or at least what's the term always used? Anti-hero. I could see him turning into like an anti-hero for this. Just because, are they really gonna have him captured and then like have him be freaking out, like trying to kill him or something? Like, I think he's gonna get some sense and knocked into him or something, or stunned into him, I guess. Right. And maybe it's gonna be something along those lines where he's kind of like an anti-hero, and maybe, I do feel like at some point he is going to die though, like probably saving them, like once he sees the light or something. I think that'll be like the big thing, but again, it just
I mean, I can see him going out by saving his brothers in that way, but not saying like seeing the light. I think he just his loyalty to his brothers. I mean, he's made it very clear in tonight's episode that you didn't give me a chance, so I'm giving you that chance. And I was like, okay, he just wants them to understand, like he's still about them, but however, he's got different things he wants to do. He don't want to follow their particular path. That's my interpretation of it. So I mean, like I said, I hope. I mean, I think someone has to die in next week's finale, or it'll be for nothing. I mean, something has to happen to where either Hunter or my bet is either going to be Hunter. Well, no, well, I can't say that. It's going to be either Crosshair or maybe Tech. I can see him going, but he is an important part of the team too. So I don't know. I'm kind of just lost about who could potentially die in the original crew, but Crosshair for sure has to go.
Yeah, no, I think it'd be Wrecker if anything, because they need Hunter around because he's still like the leader of the group. But Wrecker, they've been building up that character more than I think he even deserves or what we thought he would get, because he was one of those characters like, oh, this is gonna be like the worst character of the show, and I've really turned out to like the character. He's got some really cool qualities about him. He's like that real good brother to Omega, and I could see like that being the martyr for them to like join the rebellion.
But he brings that levity to the group, and I think that's what the show needs. But at the same time, you're right. I think that if they do kill him off, that could be a huge character change for Omega, because she's like, you see how she is when someone gets captured. She's like, nope, we gotta go back and get them. We gotta go back and get them, no matter what.
Yeah,
we can't forget our people. If Wrecker gets killed, I could see that changing her character so dramatically.
Her. I also do feel like I've been kind of saying it all season, but I still feel like there's a chance Tech or Echo, one of the two, just because their characters are kind of redundant, in my opinion. They're very similar skill set. So I think one of those two could possibly have a chance of getting taken out as well.
Right.
The question is, how do they get taken out?
Yeah, I don't know where the story is going to be for next week, because we have them probably already. I bet you within the first 5 minutes they get off Camino. Honestly, like they'll get through the tunnels, they'll get back on their ship. The Empire's going to be gone already. They're going to be out of there. But I don't know. I mean, where are they going to go? Maybe they'll have something with Sid. Maybe Sid is going to double cross them, and that's going to be something they have to deal with. I don't know, because she's not going to be happy with them like leaving. I thought there'd be more of a ramification for her, actually. Like last week, they're like, Tech is like, oh, we're in the middle of Sid's run. Like, this is not good. We're gonna just leave the house. I was like, oh, that maybe that's some insinuation that something could happen.
Don't sell yourself short, Chris. I mean, I can see that happening. So
Oh yeah, the final episode just be a Sid mission.
no, like her like just double crossing them and
Oh yeah.
like Prentice calling up that admiral say, oh yeah, by the way, they're coming here. So
Oh yeah. I was just checking
but
out the chat. Gosh, we were getting some comments.
Yeah, I know, Alex, we actually talked about the whole pricing
Yep.
for a good 20 minutes, it probably was. So you can go back and
what
watch
what
that
did
and
he
listen
say?
to it. About the pricing, about the
Oh
$6,000
yeah,
for.
Alex, listen, Alex, go back and listen to what I gotta say, bro. You're gonna agree with me on that. Facts. Because because how Alex is, I think how he's referencing his question, he's probably gonna be in agreement with me that that price is ridiculous. But appreciate you listening, Alex, and watching it.
That's
so
great.
so any last things you guys want to say about this particular episode?
I mean, overall, I will say I'm pleased with the last two episodes. I mean, I'm looking forward to the finale, and honestly, I don't want to know what's gonna happen. Like, I want to avoid spoilers. You know, so I'm actually kind of excited to see how it's going to end. So that's
Yeah.
those are my final thoughts on it. I mean, I can give my score if that's what you want, Chris. I can do that right now.
Yeah, we're gonna roll into that in
Yeah.
like 2 seconds.
Yeah.
One last thing I just want to mention is I thought it was weird that like this seemed to pick up right after the events of last time, but there was like no mention of Gregor.
hmm
So I
Yeah.
was like, oh, Gregor was on the ship. Like, where'd he go? Is he with Rex now? Like, what happened? Another thing is the Dark Troopers, like, they were having, or whatever they're called, those sentry bots in the arena there. They were having such a hard time killing those things in the first episode, and now they're just using regular blasters and are going down like one hit. So I have to go back and I have to watch the first episodes. Maybe they like updated these things to be crappier for some reason, but I thought that was interesting how like those things just were going down like nothing.
Well, the thing is, in the first encounter with them, weren't they? And they're just using training blasters though, so maybe they were just lower
Yeah.
power.
I thought they
Oh,
were set for like stun or training blast. Yeah, 'cause
Yeah.
they
oh,
weren't
could
destroying them.
be.
They were just, like knocking them out like EMP guns or something
Yeah,
like
like
that.
EMP.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay. Okay, that could definitely
that's
be a good
why I
explanation.
Yeah.
think.
Um, all right, one last comment here before we go into our scores here. Do you guys
Mm.
think that Ahsoka will show up in the finale? I hope not. They've already had enough cameos. I think it would be good
Nah, I
to
think we're good.
just have Boba Fett, and that could be it.
I could see Rex maybe showing up. Because I mean they mentioned him in this episode, so I could see them reaching out to Rex to get support. That I
Mhm.
could see happen. And again, it wouldn't be a bad thing because that fits the narrative of the story. We've seen him once before. They've name dropped him a couple times. They know what he's trying to do. So I can see them trying to get that. I mean, he's the one that they can trust. So
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I'm gonna throw it over to Ben for final thoughts and score out of 10 on this one, man.
Okay, I would have to say it's definitely one of the better episodes of the season, if not the best. I would say it's probably in the top 2 for me. Just because it was really good overall. Loved the music from Attack of the Clones. I thought that was great. The just overall story, as you said earlier, Milton, from start to finish, I thought this episode was really good.
mhm.
I didn't find any major issues with it. Other than the Gregor thing, like you said, Chris, it was kind of weird. Like it's like, okay, he's gone. He must be taking vacation for the week. But other than that, the episode was really good. I thought one of the coolest features of the episode that we didn't mention yet is I loved the secret landing platform outside
Yeah.
Tapoka City on the water. Like I thought that was really, really cool. And I thought that was great how it took them to, the secret lab where the clones were born. And an interesting thing, I saw someone post a picture on Twitter. So you have the Bad Batch and Omega, and then there's like 7 other pods there that are empty. So it makes you wonder, are there other potential beings that have been worked on, like that are potentially out there? Sure, they could be dead or something, but there's that possibility we could get something along those lines. And another thing as well, I was going to ask you guys, I mean, not to like sidetrack the end of this podcast, but so is Omega older than the Bad Batch? Because the way she talked to them when they were in that lab, it sounded like she was there when they were born.
Yeah, I get the notion that they say she's a generation one or first generation with Boba Fett, so I think she's got the, non aging accelerated growth, so I think that she definitely is older. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I was thinking too. But anyways, yeah, that along with all the action, I thought seeing Kamino's destruction was, it was like Milton said earlier, it's great seeing that in canon now, but also as I messaged or as I tweeted this morning at 3:30 in the morning, it's like the end of an era. Like that is like symbolically like showing like this is like fully the end of the Clone Wars. Like now the Clone Wars is definitely over. Like that whole era is done. Like now we're moving fully into like the Imperial era, like rule over the galaxy. So I think that's really cool, and I just can't wait to see where the finale takes us. And just to throw in there as well, and you guys could throw in a couple of predictions as well with your reviews, but I would say a quick prediction for this coming week. I think there's a decent chance, like maybe toward the end of the episode, maybe it's going to be ending in like a darker type way, but then it's going to be kind of like your thing of where maybe Boba Fett shows up and is like, I don't know, says something, and that's like your good moment of the episode. Like I think Boba Fett, I think there's a decent chance for him just because of how many times he's been name dropped. I think that's like my biggest prediction. I think we could get Boba Fett being in the finale, or even maybe for like a final battle. Maybe now that Crosshair's back with the Bad Batch, we're gonna get our little predict thing we talked about last week, Chris. Maybe Bad Batch versus Republic Commando, like the evil Republic Commando in the finale.
Yeah.
Like that could be pretty cool. But anyways, those are a couple little predictions maybe for this finale. And then my final score for this episode specifically, I would have to give it I'd have to give it a 9.2 out of 10. I think it's really good, and it's one of the better ones of the season.
9.2, yeah. Very good predictions there. I'm going to throw it over to Milton for his take on this episode here.
Yeah, really good episode. One of my favorites. Like I mentioned earlier, I love how the narrative was a through line between last episode and this current episode. Again, the scene of the destruction of Kamino, again, end of an era. And honestly, I compare this is where my nerdism comes from, being like a history buff. Hitler's Third Reich in Nazi Germany, pretty much rising. And we know George Lucas took a lot of history from Nazi Party and Hitler's Third Reich and formed that into the Empire. So seeing how the Empire's plans really coming into fold of like, we're going to steal the tech, get rid of that evidence, and just keep steamrolling our viewpoint and indoctrinate all these people in the galaxy to what we want. So it's nice to see that everything's coming back to full circle. So I'm hoping in season 2 we get a lot of Empire just taking over and just really, getting a grip like an iron fist on a galaxy. So I think this was a significant start to hopefully what we're going to see next week and going further. With that being said, my score for this episode, 9.5 out of 10. I really didn't have many issues with it.
Far cry from that 1.5 he gave earlier in the season.
Facts.
Oh, man. All right. So I'm going to end it with my score here. So I really enjoyed this episode. It's one of those top episodes. Like, I forget who mentioned it, but you said like the beginning, the second episode, Milton mentions the beginning, the first episode of the season, then like those 2 episodes in the middle on the trash planet, not Bakura. Baraka. Then you have like these last couple episodes, and I'll throw the Ryloth arc in there. All those episodes are like very, very good Star Wars. Just not good Bad Batch, but like good Star Wars stories in general. Because they're moving the plot, they're moving the characters, everything's going in the direction you want it to. And that could be said the same for this. This episode transcends like anything else that we've seen so far in this series, because it tells us an event that we didn't know about, the destruction of Kamino. we could have had, hey, the Camino uprising. I know a lot of us wanted to see that. Hey, they could still have clones that rebel. In fact, I fully expect to see that in season 2, and that's a speculation right there, prediction. Hey, maybe we'll see like battles between the clones and between the new stormtroopers all throughout season 2, like a different, like instead of the Clone Wars, then we have some kind of like clone versus stormtrooper wars. I don't know. But getting back to this episode, the music was great. Just the threat that was there again. I felt like there was a risk. I felt like somebody could have died this episode, which I hadn't felt since like the very beginning of this season. And just seeing the villains win, I think is always kind of fun. Seeing like the villains get their way, seeing the awesome interaction between Crosshair, finally getting some of those answers of what's going on. You know, he hunted them all season, it seemed like, to us at least. And now seeing them come together and giving a good explanation, being like, hey, you guys abandoned me the whole time. So what the heck? So actually seeing that twist, I didn't actually expect him to come at him from that direction. All that being said, I got to give it a score of a 9 out of 10. One of the best episodes of the season and the series so far. I'm very excited about this finale. I think we're going to get something that's going to involve Boba Fett. I think he's going to be the zinger at the end. Like, they got to find their allies, and Boba Fett's going to show up and be like, my home was destroyed, you know, Camino's destroyed, and that's going to make them really double down on joining the rebellion. They're going to see the Empire destroy their home, and they're going to make alliances with Rex. We're going to find out who Rex was working with, probably a Bail Organa, and, you know, we'll see who else could also be in that room. There could be a lot of other characters. We could even see a young Cassian Andor for all we know. So who knows? But I am excited. Another great episode tonight for Outer Rim Transmission. For those of you that aren't aware, if you're listening to the podcast, we also do this every Friday around 9 o'clock Eastern. You can catch us live and participate in the chat. We had a very lively chat tonight, so appreciate everybody joining us there. And if vice versa, if you watched tonight or watched later, we also have a podcast feed. So if you're at work, if you're on the drive to work, working out at the gym, you could always download episodes. New ones go up every Monday on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and all. So make sure you go ahead and share this to your friends, subscribe to this, and tell us what you think about the show, because I'm very interested in your impressions. And we have an email address. You could always send us questions, because I do want to start getting some questions and answer sessions. So if you guys want to tweet us with the hashtag Outer Rim Transmission, or send us an email, outerrimtransmissions@gmail.com, we'd really appreciate answering your questions on a future show. So there you go. Episode number 19 is in the books. You could follow Milton on Twitter at MiltonWeber7. You could follow Ben at RealBenMaynard. You can follow me, myself, at Starrapter, of course. Subscribe to the YouTube channel as well. So that's going to do us for episode 19 and Transmission.